Okay, today's activity is one of two parts. You're going to have contouring activity number 1, and then you should have also received a sheet that says creating a profile activity. If you're only in my 7th period class, you will get only contouring activity 1 so that you have plenty of time to get that finished. So the first one I want to go over with you is contouring activity number 1. Notice right here it says use a pencil when doing your contouring activities. It's really easy to make mistakes when doing these types of maps, so it's very important that you are using a pencil and you can erase. Number 1 says to draw contour lines for each of the following and label them: 100 feet, 110, 120, 130, 140. Flip your paper over to the back. This is the map that you're going to use to do your contour line. So the first one that you have to do is the 100s, and it's kind of like doing connecting the dots, but you're connecting all the points at 100, because remember, a contour line shows all the points at the same elevation. So you're going to start with 100, and you are just going to go through and you are going to connect these points that are all at 100. So in the end, you have something that looks kind of like this. Then the next point, you've done the 100 feet, so now you're going to do 110. So now you're going to find all of your 110 points and you connect those together. And when you connect them, try to avoid doing straight lines, because land is not straight lines and corners. It's a bunch of curves due to the way that weathering, erosion, and deposition takes place on the surface. So then you have your second contour line. Okay, so you're going to do this, and you're going to do it all the way up to the final set, which is 140 feet. Then once you've done that, you need to answer questions 2, 3, 4, and 5. When you're finished with this, then you need to move on to creating a profile activity. If you're in my 7th period class, this is what you need to get finished today, and if you get it done, go ahead and turn it into the tray. With creating a profile, you need to make sure that you have a ruler. You need to make sure that you have a piece of scratch paper and a pencil. This one takes a little bit more time. It takes a little more explanation, so I'm going to walk you through the first one. Then you're going to have the last 2 to do on your own, and it will be due tomorrow. Part number 1 says to line up the edge of a sheet of paper with a straight line on a topographic map on this page. Number 2 says to make a pencil mark on the paper at each place a contour line crosses the straight line, and at a point A and B, mark the benchmark X. It says the highest elevation, however, it's not the highest elevation. It's just a dip at the highest elevation. And then label each pencil mark with an elevation of the contour line or benchmark that it matches. So you're going to take your piece of scratch paper, and you need to, let me zoom in for you. You are going to line up an edge of the scratch paper with that line that runs through the contour map. And then it says each time a line crosses, a contour line crosses your paper, you're going to make an etch. So first of all, you have A right here. That cross, that one. So you just make a mark on your paper at each spot that a contour line crosses that straight line. This is your benchmark, so put an X. Then it says to label each pencil mark with the elevation of the contour line. So this is where you might have to lift your paper up a little bit and see. So for example, this line right here was the first one that crossed. It comes around and it's marked at 0. So this very first notch is 0. The second notch, if you follow it around, it's marked at 100. And then this one you can see is 200. Follow the line around. This notch is 200. This was your 100 mark contour line, so if you followed this around, that would mean this one would be 100. This is your 0. Follow it around. The next line, that's 0. Your next line is 100, 200, 300, 400, and then you have the benchmark set up at 385. Follow your 400 line, so this little notch is 400. Here's your 300 line, it goes around. And then this one, if you follow it, it goes to 200. So now you have your paper all marked. Step number 3 says line up the pencil edge of the first sheet of paper with the bottom of the graph on the next page. So go ahead and turn to the next page. And this is your graph. So this is part 1. Notice you've got your elevation on that y-axis, you have your distance on the x-axis, you have your points A, point B. Part 1 says, or excuse me, part 2, step number 1 says use a ruler to draw a straight line from each pencil mark to its elevation on the graph. So line your paper up. You want to line the 0 up right at 0. And then you'll have your straight line all the way, whoops, all the way across. And what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to, using your ruler, create a line that'll take you from this point to 100 because that's what's marked. So using your ruler, draw a straight line from 0 to 100. Don't forget to mark your 0. The next line is 200, so you're going to draw a straight line from that point to 200. The next line is 200, then 100, back to 0, mark it. 100, 200, 300, 400. Then you have your benchmark at 385. So if this is 300 and this is 400, right in the middle would be 350. So you can estimate 385 to be right in this area. So go ahead and draw a line to the benchmark. Then back to 400. Then 300, and then 200. So your graph now should look like this. You've done all the straight lines to mark the elevation of each of the points on the contour line map. Number 2 says to draw a smooth line to connect the top points of all the lines you drew on your graph. Like I said, you don't see in real life straight lines and corners when it comes to land surfaces and earth surfaces. So what you need to do is make sure that the lines that you draw are not straight, jagged lines, but they are curving. Like for example, there's a hill, so you would curve that hill, you'd come back down into the valley and then back up on a hill and continuing up, and then this dips down. So if you notice the lines that I'm making as I'm connecting each of these points, they're more of a curve than they are anything else. What you've now created is a profile of this topographic map. If you look at just the topographic map, you can kind of get an idea and make a guess of what you think it'll look like. But if you were standing way far away from this location, this is what you'd see. You'd see this hill, and then you'd see a big dip or a valley, and then you'd see a really tall mountain, and then you would see this dip at the top, so possibly it's a volcano or some sort of crater, and then it would come right back down. So a profile is basically the side view of the map that you're looking at, topographic map. Once you've done that, then you need to answer the analysis questions and the apply questions. You can answer it directly on this paper. And then I want you to try 2 more on your own. This CD topographic map, you're going to use the same piece of scratch paper, just use a different side this time or a different corner. And you are going to do exactly what we did with the first one. You line it up on the line and you start making the notches and label them according to their contour interval number. You're going to take that, and if you flip it over to the back, you're going to create your graph on the back and then do your profile. Next is the KL topographic map. This is pretty circular. From there, you're going to use another side of your scratch paper, line it up, do your notches, take that paper to the back, and you're going to create a profile map of the topographic map KL. If you have any questions, you can always Edmodo me. I'll respond to you as quickly as possible. I need to remind you that both of these assignments are due tomorrow at the beginning of class. We'll be going over them after the cumulative review. Don't forget about the cumulative review test that we have tomorrow. Have those words ready.